Hong Kong. The East-West writer. British banker Rurik Jutting went on trial this week for the 2014 murder of two Indonesian women he tortured in his upscale Hong Kong apartment. In this connection, let us talk a little bit about Hong Kong's expat culture and the rampant exploitation of Asian women. Hong Kong is basically a whorehouse for white Western expats. That's largely so because it was so long a British colony, but also because Western imperialists had always cultivated a fetish for their Asian plaything. On any given night, scores of foreign men and young, made-up Asian women fill the pubs on Lockhart Road, while outside on the sidewalk, hostesses in cocktail dresses swarm passing Western men, hoping to entice them into booming nightclubs. The Daily Mail. Journalists in the past were largely complicit in concealing what today is known as white trash culture. It amounts to Western males flocking into Hong Kong under the impression of white privilege and supremacy, politically, culturally, and sexually. British BBC, The Telegraph, and The Guardian continue to sell the former British colony Hong Kong as the expat's dream and best place to live in the world. Yet what most British expats really think about is the constant availability of submissive Asian women. They not only learn about submissive Asian women in their Western textbooks, but also from film and literature. Don't believe it? Here's a small selection. The World of Susie Wong. Miss Saigon. Shanghai Baby. The Barbarian and the Geisha. Already Tomorrow in Hong Kong. Full Metal Jacket. Madame Butterfly. Although the majority of British immigrants in China are dropouts, escapists, and thus English teachers, and drink cheap alcohol, the media still mystifies the stereotypical British bloke as rich, hard-working, and hard-playing. For generations of Western men, Hong Kong's Wan Chai neighborhood captured all the mystery and hedonism of this financial capital known around the world as the Pearl of the Orient. Prostitutes, strippers and bar girls entertain visiting sailors and businessmen at all hours in these neon-filled blocks, even as working-class Hong Kongers went about their business in the streets around them. The Daily Mail. The victims of this Western sense of entitlement in Hong Kong are Asian women, who have no media outlet. Western media was in cahoots with Western imperialism. One Economist's Asia correspondent was rumored to have lavish sex orgies with hookers. The New York Times dispatched breast soldiers to Hong Kong to maintain the Western status quo, and to destabilize China. Meanwhile, Hong Kong's womanhood is under attack. Western perverts are shamelessly uploading their sexual adventures to YouTube. Pickup artists fly to Hong Kong to show to world that Hong Kong girls never say no. Hong Kong women stop having children. Children, families, what for? In such a society, women must be highly promiscuous till their late 30s. Academia was complicit, too. The sexual opportunities Hong Kong offered to Western conquerors was beneficial to scholars, too. There is silent consent that the Asian female, just as Asian knowledge, are Western properties, to be liberated by Western men. Sexual dynamics crucially underpin the whole operation of British Empire and Victorian expansion, such that without the easy range of sexual opportunities which imperial systems provided, the long-term administration of tropical territories might well have been impossible. Hong Kong and British culture. Mr. Jutting is depicted, in the mainstream British press of course, as the victim. Hong Kong made him do this. He lived in a small, precise and unreal world. He was a prisoner of his high-flying life who could swim in the rooftop pool, smoke in the cigar room or eat in a Michelin 3-star restaurant, all without stepping outside. He must have been lonely. Locals call people like him Willow, or Ghost people, so named because of the whiteness of their skin. Those poor white men allegedly drift, rootless, through the city. The Willow life is insanely sad and boring, and this explains all the drugs and hookers. The list of justifications goes on and on. One can almost hear the foreign correspondent's self-pity, but guess how many hookers they'd squared and shared among themselves in all their eternal Guilo sadness. Society here looks away so it is easier for them to misbehave, The Telegraph quotes a local. Which is a cheap journalistic trick. The truth is, the Chinese don't look away. The Western media does. The Western media are the enablers of Western sexploitation of Asian women. The Telegraph went on to lament that Mr. Jutting had a red light district at his doorstep, which sounds awful, until you study expat culture and realize that expats and escorts exist in complete symbiosis. Where there are expats, there are seedy bars and red light districts. Mr. Jutting is believed to have lost his mind. Surely, that's what the British media wants the Hong Kong courts to believe. It would be disastrous to see a former British gentleman executed for murder in the former colony. Worse, imagine the Chinese authorities would now investigate the Western cult that Mr. Jutting was coming from. However, it was while working in Hong Kong that Jutting is said to have developed an obsession with having sex with 2 or 3 women and hosting drug-fueled sex parties that lasted for days at a time. The Daily Mail. Poor, stressed men who must endure such sex parties. The British press tells us little about Mr. Jutting's victims. Sluts. With such substantial rewards, the expatriate Guiolo sensualist can indulge himself. They are almost always men, in the dizzying variety of cheap sex, drink and drugs on offer with no fear of the repercussions or opprobrium that such excesses would invite back home. Ganagrio.com. Here is a gorgeous photo of very young Mr. Juttings at boarding school, courtesy The Telegraph. What a lovely boy. Why the heck? This photo? Rurik Jutting at school in Weybridge. The cliché is almost laughable. He was certainly not one of the loud kids. Oh, had they ever been the loud kids? The paper continues to praise this loser's life from Peterhouse College, Cambridge, to his work life at Berkeley and Merrill Lynch. Eventually, poor Jutting emerged from his super competitive schooling in England and got his high-pressure job in Hong Kong, where he turned up at the Old China Hand, his favorite expat pub, shouting that he was a psychopath. Or, maybe, just maybe, Hong Kong has a problem with dysfunctional white males, and the media blames Hong Kong for it.